This is Fam Electric Ghost, and we're talking from our home studio. We're doing another session today. We're talking about the difference in our hardware workflows. Now, we typically use, for many years, a Zoom R24 hardware recorder that records to SD card. It allows us to have the 24 tracks coming off a sense like you see back here, like there's a Moog, DFAM, grandmother, Mother 32, a Roland, Juno, System 1M, a bunch of stuff. But what we've done now is you see over here, we have an Akai Force. We also have over here a Zoom L LiveTrak L8. So this is like the new method. But before we get into the two different types of hardware recording, we're going to talk about our sponsor, DoubleJack.Online, where they do philanthropic online gaming. You can play Keno. You can play, I think you can also do Powerball and other types of games like all day long. Now, if you're in the US, you would have to use a different solution having to do with like a virtual private network. But everywhere else in the world, you can go to DoubleJack.Online, use the scan, take your cell phone and go up to the screen and scan that, and you'll get right in. So we'll keep it up for a couple more seconds. Again, go check out DoubleJack.Online, philanthropic gaming. So gaming with a heart. So check it out. They're a big supporter of the podcast. So let's get into expansive sound for a second. So, or more than a second, that's what we're going to talk about. So again, we are a Dawless producer. We like to use Dawless techniques, and we've kind of compromised a little bit by getting the Akai Force. So this machine is an instrument. It is a Dawless DAW. You don't need a PC, and you can do Ableton like clips on it, and then you can use the arranger mode to actually build full songs. Now, we actually have an example of a song that we did on it, and then we're actually going to run a video of a song using the other workflow. So again, the traditional workflow that Ghost has used has been to take hardware sets and directly record them using an MX1 performance mixer from Roland and then a Zoom R24 and directly capture everything into the 24 track Zoom R24, which allows us to do like DAW-like composition, but more like a Tascam 4-tracker or 8-tracker or 16-tracker, but it's a 24 tracker. And it puts everything to the SD card, and you can do everything without going through a MIDI, any kind of audio interface, because you directly capture all your synths directly into the recorder. With this method, we can actually go right into, the touch screen here, and you can actually do clip-based arrangements. You can control CV instruments, MIDI instruments, take in audio, do sampling. We've got a Mellotron loaded on here. We've got an Odyssey. We've got some core guitars, and we've got the hype synth and the drum synth in here. Plus, we're on 3.1, which allows us to do some cool things. So what we're going to do is we're going to first play a track with no vocals on it that we did on here that has a guitar coming from like a chord guitar, and then we've got I think a Mellotron on it, and we've got an Odyssey bass. So we're going to go and start it now. We're in arranger mode on the Akai Force. I'm going to hit the play. So that was an example of a song composed in arranger mode, featuring guitar and mellotron and Odyssey bass, all composed in the arranger mode, starting with clips and then launching the clips from the side over here. In arranger mode, then you can take multiple combinations of clips and actual keyed playing off the pads and actually save their arrangement, which you see in the touchpad here. Now we're actually going to go and show the other method of composition, which is off the R24 with the hardware synths. And we're going to do a song we call Purple, Black, and Blue Lude, featuring a Moog Mother 32, a Grandmother, a Moog DFAM for the drum beat, and a Juno GI piano and Juno GI guitar. So here is the traditional Phantom Electric Ghost peg recording style up until we got the force, and we can compare it to what we just showed. If we get it to play, hold on a second. We had it playing a second ago. Come on. Okay, there we go. Yeah, now we got it queued up, so let's go. So worried about you. What is true? You're gonna be my girl. Let me so worried about the truth. I wonder if you really might do. Come through. Come through. Yeah, your devotion is it. Yeah, come through. Your devotion is it. Show me the truth. Show me the devotion to this day. So we about you. And I want to make it disappear. Make it evil. I want to focus on you. Yes, yes. Are you gonna be my come in the truth? Or you going home man for this dude? I wonder where you is a kid and really colorful. And I want to share from you. You tell me what's other dude. And I can't only come in truth. Because I can't either touch you. Either touch the truth. I don't know if either able with you. Yes, I'm able to see with you. You're fucking someone to do. I know the melancholy blue. Okay, we'll talk to you. But it's only for 15 minutes at a time. Then you're gone. I don't know how I'm feeling. No, yes, I've been feeling it all the time. I know that you're on my mind, but I wonder if it's right for time. And you're not coming through like you know woman for this dude. I want you to be my friend. Yeah, my come here, I should have you woman for this truth. I want you to come here, the truth. It's all just a clear road. You woman for this dude. I want you to come here, the truth. I want to come to the table from you. Is that after all they want someone to with time? People do some pig. You know the only thing I want to drink. And when I think about you on the kitchen sink, then I know I just want to give you a ring. But I can never really talk to you. Or you might come hear the truth. You the one for this coming to do. Just show me this is LEWD. Oh, or you just show me LEWD. Oh. Is the end just about you? But show me LEWD, dude. That's so cool. Oh, you can know. Like you can like it, call me up dude. Oh, you LEWD, dude. You sit across the table, be more good. Oh, you can. So take you sit across the table. Oh, what you gonna do? Wanna get this purple blue? You sit across the table with somebody do. The crazy thing, you purple blue. I won't be able to be with you more than you can. I can't go through. We sit across the table with somebody do. I can't think. No purple blue. Either can't get to you, and come along, I want to come home to you. There's a table with someone to try and dig. No, purple blue. Either I can't get to you, I want to come on your lips and look at you. I want to get to you, and come along, come along. And you can't have purple thing blue. I want you to really feel. I can call you. It's like home to you. Can't take all purple blue. I want to get to you all. Even that's true, but I can't
Someone said you could either like it as a purple blue. There's a puzzle that will around you, or give your head in the table. One, two, it to you. I want it. I'm thinking about I want it too. I want it puzzle. On to I'm going to call that I can't show. I can get that dude. The purple dead blue. I want to fuck you. I know it's so good. It's so good. It's so cruel. Yeah, I know it's so good. I want if you're screwed.
So that's Pam Electric Ghost, and we're talking about that workflow. And in that video, we showed like the old workflow, and we'll drop that out. So the old workflow primarily focused on using a Zoom, and we're still using a Zoom. We're still using the Zoom like R24. I mean, L8 here you can see in combination with the Akai Force. The cool thing about the LiveTrak is like for every input that's going into a particular track, it automatically captures like a stem, which it doesn't do that on the other system. On R24. You have to kind of explicitly kind of make it understand that that's what you're doing. So if you put different inputs into all the different input lines on it, it does not automatically create a separate track. And that's one of the cool things about the L8. And so what we use it in combination with the arranger mode on this new Akai Force, we can do a lot of hardware composition, and in the expansive style, which is our style of recording, is kind of stream of consciousness, jam band type of style. You put things down. You don't necessarily want to be able to repeat it, but because we capture it, we can repeat it in some ways. We could grab it and sample it, grab a couple bars, and then then bring it into something like an Akai Force and really control it. But our other style, if you just heard the song we wrote, it was more totally stream of consciousness, a lot looser, even though it had a steady Moog DFAM beat. It kind of started in piano and it kind of went into this punkish kind of, post-punk new wave type of kind of like Joy Division type of punk, that I'm into. Like, I mean, I'm a big fan of the Clash, a big fan of like Husker Du, but I also like Order, and I like Depeche Mode, and I like The Cure. So as a synth player, as a keyboard player, as a synthesis, I try to kind of merge my frustration of not being able to be a guitar player, and I try to introduce as much guitar through my keyboards as possible. I did that on the Akai by using like a loaded Korg guitar, and then use the onboard effects on the Akai Force to actually, really step up the guitar sound in the song I did before this one. And so you can see the two different methods. The next thing we haven't really done is actually integrate the Akai Force into the hardware workflow across the room. So eventually, maybe during Thanksgiving, we'll bring the Akai Force over and create a song where we have the Akai Force be the central control for all the instruments coming into it, and maybe have the LiveTrak be the audio interface. We'll probably have a combination of the R24 and the LiveTrak being the audio interfaces coming into it, so that we can capture as many MIDI tracks as we can. Though we have an open issue that we discovered using the grandmother. We're able to trigger the grandmother off these pads. We're able to get a MIDI track where we can see, that the Akai Force recognizes it and allows us to use the pads to control the grandmother. However, when we went into arranger mode to try to record what we played, it did not seem to keep it. We put in a request into Akai. We're waiting for one of their people to come back and tell us if that's a bug or there's just some kind of weird routing that you have to do. We know you have to use an audio track, which we can bring an audio track into one of the lines in. We know we have to associate the MIDI with the grandmother and the Akai to get the actual pads to work. But what we've not been able to do is get it to actually take the audio from the Moog and bring it into a track into the arranger. Now we assume that you should be able to just record arm the audio track and it should capture it, as long as you make that audio track have enough bars to capture it, which we had like 152 bars and still didn't seem to do it. And so we put in the request. We haven't got the answer back. We really want the answer back because we're just put on order a JDO8, which is a new boutique, which kind of brings back the D800, D800, and that's a pretty cool, awesome 90 synth. And we want to be able to actually integrate that into the arranger mode and manipulate it. And so if you can't capture the audio, that the only other way you could do is sample it. And then we found out with like long samples, this other bug we found is like if you do a long sample up to like 15 minutes and then you assign it to a key and then kick it off, it doesn't want to stop. Like we hit the stop button, and the sample just keeps on going until it ends. So that seems like another bug. So we put that in. But we do love this thing, but we have found a couple bugs. So that's the end of this episode, just to try to show you. We showed you on the Akai. We showed you a video of us doing the other workflow. And just let us know if you have any comments. We're going to end this broadcast, and we'll talk to you all later. We have some more interviews with bands and artists coming up. We have our PEG Festival coming up in February 11th through the 13th. If you're an interested person who wants to be interviewed by the Ghost in our normal program, we are also on Spotify video podcast now. So all of our video podcasts are on YouTube, Twitch, and Facebook now are on Spotify. Now we've only converted out of the hundreds of episodes, maybe like less than 10. But going forward, every single video podcast episode will also be on Spotify podcast. So if you're a musician and you want to get that kind of reach, the only thing we ask is like we do bring our sponsors in, like play DoubleJack.Online. Go to DoubleJack.Online for philanthropic gaming. Use the scan code here. And, we've got the code up on the top. So take your cell phone right now, bring it up to the screen, scan that code, and try philanthropic gaming. You can do Powerball. You can do Keno. Again, you have to be outside the U.S., but if you're a techie, you can figure out how you could still do that. So check it out. Let us know if you like it. Use the code. You can also become an influencer for them. So you can get in touch with me to figure out how to do that. You can direct message me at Fam Like the Ghost on Facebook or Instagram. And we'll talk to you later.